Mayor Johnson, you're in trouble. Like a real whole lot of trouble. Karen Brass, you are in trouble as well. Letitia James, Kathy Hochul, Eric Adams, I guess you're off the hook because you're playing ball. But wow, these mayors and these governors, they want to stand in the way of the federal government, are going to find themselves like the soon-to-be under arrest Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago. They're going to find themselves in a whole lot of trouble. Welcome to the show. We are live, as usual. Good to have you here. I'm Trish Regan. It's the Trish Regan Show. Make sure you subscribe. We're coming up on 1 million, guys. That's amazing. We can talk more about that later. But we got a lot of news to get to today because it's not just Mr. Johnson who's in trouble there in Chicago. It's a whole lot of people. John Brennan as well. So the Chicago mayor may be facing arrest here. We've got the John Brennan situation unfolding, and he's freaking out like all over live TV. I'm going to show you some excerpts. Very, very nervous guy. Well, understandably, I'd be nervous too in light of what he may have done, allegedly done. Oh, there's a lot there. All right, we've got 6 Secret Service agents that were just fired as a result of the Butler, Pennsylvania situation. Susie Wiles is out with a brand new interview. I want to show you some clips because she's pointing out that this effectively, in her view, mine as well, actually, this was nothing but divine intervention. It is a miracle that he is alive. And, if we have time, we may get to Michelle Obama complaining again, constant victim. Oh, American women have it so bad. Men need to understand just how bad we women have it. Well, if we're so different, right, as women, Michelle, I would just ask you, might you not have a little more sympathy, say, for Riley Gaines? If women are that different emotionally, then for goodness sakes, you don't think we're different biologically? I hate to point out the obvious. Welcome to the show, everyone. We begin today on the Chicago mayor. The Chicago mayor likely facing arrest now after he made some rather senseless, stupid, moronic comments that fly in the face of the Constitution. In other words, this is one issue. I keep saying it, I'm going to say it again. Immigration is one issue that the federal government has any power over. It is this, okay? Naturalization clause, supremacy clause, commerce clause, you name it, plenty of clauses. And yet, this guy out in Chicago says this.
Division. Look, we are a welcoming city ordinance. Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE. Whatever their constitutional authority is.
Well, that little number at the end, whatever their constitutional authority is really sticking out at me. Because he's saying, I don't give a flying you-know-what about the Constitution. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want anyway. Because I'm Brandon Johnson, I'm the mayor of Chicago, and I get to do what I want. I don't think so. No, because the president has already made it really clear what's going to happen to people like that. You see, this guy who's running for mayor in New York City, the communist, he's already said he's not going to cooperate. And the president has already said what he's going to do to him, should that be the case.
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zoran Mandami, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zoran Mandami.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
Okay. You heard it. Well, then we'll have to arrest him. In other words, Mr. Johnson, you cannot just say, we don't care. We don't care about the Constitution. We don't care about the law. We're going to do our own thing here in Chicago. You actually can't. Like, you physically, legally, constitutionally cannot do that. So good luck with that, buddy. I mean, by the way, good luck with your constituents who have no use for all your, we got to promote the sanctity of migrants over the people that were born and raised here, because I don't think it's going over very well with the Chicago voting base. I mean, do you? I'm going to play you an example.
You all sit up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaign and double down that you would not raise property tax. You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all said y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example of this right here first. Please come here first. Spend our tax dollars to go. Michael Rodriguez, you said to take Trump to court to protect these illegals. That's cool because we about to make all of y'all aldermen famous. Y'all think this house gonna rat? I think not. Flip Chicago red. We not playing.
Whoa. Okay. Brandon, you got some problems. I mean, so not only are you willing to disobey the law, not only are you willing to seemingly put the interests of people that were not born here and that came here illegally ahead of the people that are here legally, you have yourself a whole little problem with your constituency because they're not buying into any of this. You know, that woman's not the only one. You get a few more that are getting sick and tired of this. I want to play you another gentleman who's basically given Mayor Brandon Johnson a big fat warning. You going to GAIL, buddy boy. That's what he's telling him.
You got Kash Patel and Pam Bundy that you're going to have to deal with sooner than later. Then it's going to be an audit. Next, it's going to be an investigation. Then it's going to be an indictment.
Whoa. That's what's going to happen, actually. I mean, so the DOJ is investigating all this. The president has already made it clear that what he wants to do with people who are not obeying the law, in the case of Mayor Johnson, you know, you're going to be under arrest. But it's not just this, by the way, that he has to worry about. I mean, there's other things as well, because you see, this particular mayor, well, he's got a whole DEI thing going on too. I'm going to get to that. But first, another voter who's sick of it all.
Mr. Brandon Johnson, I'm up here. I am speaking right now, so I would love your undivided attention, please. I'll wait. So this just proves to you the lack of leadership that you show in this city. You can't even give me straight eye contact. Now, I'm going to let you know now, the people of Chicago, we're done with you. It is insane how we have been voting Democrat for over 60 plus years, and we've never seen a change from people like you, Lori Lightfoot, Robbie Manuel. It is insane. Chicago was 37% red. In 2020, it was only 15%. So we're waking up. So you can pretend that this isn't happening, but I know for a fact that you will not have that seat the next election.
You so strong about protecting those aliens, but you won't do nothing for the U.S. citizens.
Whoa. Okay. So his constituents are mad. And you know what? They have every right and reason to be under these circumstances. Think about it. Think about what they're up against, the economic challenges that they face, the security challenges that they face in the city of Chicago. You go through the south side of Chicago, and it's a pretty tough place. You look at the number of horrific shootings that happened just over the 4th of July weekend. What was it, 107? I'd made a note of this because I was like, my gosh, I mean, it's like living in some kind of war. 109, forgive me, not 107, 109 shootings in the city of Chicago. I mean, this is not normal, okay? And so instead of attending to his city and respecting the rights of the people that live there, he's off worried about all these people that weren't born there and that came here illegally and that may have committed a crime. And so if the Department of Homeland Security comes in and says, okay, we want to arrest these people, they've committed a crime and they're here illegally, and Brandon Johnson's standing in the way, how do you think that that plays in the city of Chicago? I don't think it plays very well. You know what else is going on? He is going to find himself, mark my words, okay? He's going to find himself in a whole lot of trouble because he's also leaning into DEI at a time when this administration has said, listen, this this is a violation of the Constitution because you cannot discriminate against anyone. Therefore, you can't hire someone just on the basis of race. I mean, haven't we been through this before? Just take a look at Disney, by the way. Disney, Bob Iger, CEO of Disney's running pretty scared. Why? Oh, because it seems they had like DEI divisions going on, multiple DEI divisions, and they were all obsessed with, okay, you know, you have to have a producer on this show that's of this race or ethnicity, etc. On and on and on. Well, the Chicago mayor made this like his little thing, right? He had to hire people based on that because he felt that that was better for the city of Chicago, period, full stop. He said it. Watch.
Detractors that will push back on me and say, you know, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief operations officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask, how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business?
You heard what I heard. I mean, he's like naming them. It's sort of like, can you imagine, like just for a second, humor me. If you're sitting there saying, this is a white man. This is a white man. This is a white man. This is a white woman. I mean, enough already, right? Like that sounds like discrimination, okay? You can't do that. Harvard learned that. Is still learning that the hard way. But this is who he is. And you know what? The voters are getting kind of sick of it. Yeah, even the voters that theoretically would benefit from this because they're like, hey, you know, it's not just about skin color, buddy.
Thank the DOJ for opening up an investigation on the mayor's insane, out-of-control DEI hiring. You said in a recent interview that black people don't just look out for ourselves, but for everyone else as well. Well, clearly they're not getting the memo because they're destroying downtown and they're destroying the city with things like teen takeover. And when you say things like this, it just makes you look more incompetent and racist as a mayor. You need to start pushing more law and order in the city of Chicago. Help the police do their job. I am asking you all to vote for the curfew and make the curfew time permanent for teens. Hold the parents accountable as well. Teens are doing majority of the crime, and you know it, Brandon Johnson. They're even putting it on YouTube. They're openly mocking you. They're mocking you on Instagram and YouTube and all social media platforms, and you allow it every single day. Now,
You know, we've seen some of those videos on TikTok. It's sad to see they are mocking him because they think that they can, you know, so they're saying, hey, we want some kind of responsibility coming from our administration here in Chicago. We actually want you to take things like crime seriously. We want you to take the economic issues seriously. You promised you wouldn't raise property taxes, buddy, and yet property taxes, they have to go up, except the city council voted against it. But he wanted them to go up because they got to pay for all the people that are coming there illegally. I mean, this is turning into a colossal mess. And Chicago's not the only city. You got Boston, which we barely touched on, Michelle Wu, a disaster herself. You got New York City, where Eric Adams is trying to cooperate, thankfully, with law enforcement. And what does he do? He gets attacked for it. The Democrats are all over him. He's just a sellout to Tom Homan and Donald Trump. Because why? He wants to actually clean up a city. You know some of the things that have happened there. I don't even want to say it on the air. And that poor woman on the subway, right? Kathy Hochul couldn't even remember the name of the person who committed that crime. Boy, that was an epic moment with Elise Stefanik, the representative from Congress, from the state of New York, questioning Kathy Hochul, who didn't know anything about anything when it came to these issues. So Kathy's in trouble. And Karen Bass is in trouble.
So I am going to say.
Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing.
Okay. All right.
Karen Bass?
Mayor Bass.
Oh my
Any
God.
comment, Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass, any comment?
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Just wait and see.
Mayor Bass,
They will be leaving soon.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone?
Well, they didn't leave. In fact, they continued occupying their MacArthur Park. Don't forget, Trump has already been told by the Ninth Circuit Court that he can have the National Guard there. So, you know, they're going to keep trying this. They may even get kind of somewhat violent, like LaMonica tried to do. Remember when she was pushing her way through the crowd? Yeah. I know. We've seen this a bunch. But, I mean, fortunately, Karen Bass did not pull that. Fortunately, we have not seen that from Brandon Johnson. I mean, I don't think they can quite compete with LaMonica and all that she's got going on. But nonetheless, you have a situation that unfolded there in Newark, New Jersey that was out of control.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control. Did you those days are over. The days of woke. The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
Wouldn't that be nice? Well, I think that Karen Bass, Kathy Hochul, Letitia James, and Brandon Johnson really need to pay attention to that. Because if we're going to bring back law and order, that means, guess what? LaMonica is going to be facing 17 years in the slammer. And I'm kind of wondering who else may be joining her. I mean, granted, this was, according to DHS, allegedly an assault.
We should let viewers know there will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a video
American
of
people should know
members
the
of
facts.
Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Okay, and so if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Wow.
Who has the video?
She goes on to say it's DHS that has the video. This is unbelievable. Don Backup pointing out, here's a tip. Don't wear bright red when you're planning on muscling your way through the feds and breaking the law. I think that's good advice, Don. Monica ought to pay attention. LaMonica, I should say. I keep forgetting. It's LaMonica. I want to call her Monica, right? Because Monica makes sense. But this is LaMonica. LaMonica, like she's the Monica. Like in Italian, you'd be like La Regina, the queen, or La Diva, or they used to call Maria Callas, the opera singer, La Callas, La Monica. Anyway, she's certainly full of herself. She doesn't understand what she's done wrong at all. She's out on the MSNBC airwaves all day long asking for money because, this is so bad. She's got to fundraise off of it, of course, both for her legal fees and her campaign. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, the point is he's cracking down. So these mayors are all facing the consequences of that, serious consequences. He's like, not only are they going to face the consequences, that, by the way, the people that are here illegally are facing consequences too. And look, there's plenty of farm labor out there, people that are picking crops, right? Seasonal workers. Well, guess what? If you're here as a seasonal worker, you're a seasonal worker. You're not going to get any amnesty. You're not going to be able to just stay here forever just because Joe Biden might have thought it was good at one point in time. No way, Jose. I didn't mean that quite as it sounded. I'm just a girl from New Hampshire. We like to say that, no way, Jose, but that might have a different connotation. So I apologize if anyone's offended, but here's Donald Trump in the meeting the other day.
We're an American workforce. So all of the above.
We've got to give the farmers the people they need, but we're not talking amnesty. Laura, do you want to say something about that?
Thank you, Mr.
We're going to help the farmers, but we're not giving anyone amnesty. And Brooke doubled down on it.
I think I answered the second question, where we are on farm labor, a little bit earlier. But what I will say is that Lori Chavez de Rimmer is our Secretary of Labor. And the H-2A visa program, all of the programs that inure to moving in seasonal ag workers are under Secretary Chavez de Rimmer. She has been working around the clock with her team. I think we'll probably hear a little bit more about this today, and the conversations will continue. But I can't underscore enough, there will be no amnesty. The mass deportations continue, but in a strategic way, and we move the workforce towards automation and 100% American participation, which again, with 34 million people, able-bodied adults on Medicaid, we should be able to do that fairly quickly.
Boom.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the labor force. We're going to use it, and no amnesty. Look, it's not that hard. We've got this thing called the naturalization clause, right? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. You may hear me reference this a lot. I'm going to keep referencing it because it says the Congress shall have power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. I can't believe we have to keep going over this. But you know what it does? It gives Congress the authority to determine who's going to be here in this country, who's not going to be here, and who's going to become a citizen and who's not going to be a citizen. In other words, it gives them federal control over immigration laws, period. Full stop. And this is why when you think about what Brandon is saying, it is so insanely outrageous because he's saying, I don't give two you know what's about the Constitution itself.
And division. Look, we are a welcoming city ordinance. Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE. Whatever their constitutional authority is.
We're not going to do it? Oh, buddy boy. Yeah, you're going to be facing a lot of problems, just a whole lot of problems. And I know, people are like, oh, God, it's not happening. Look, I'm telling you, LaMonica has already been indicted, all right? So she's going before a jury. She is going to have to make her case. She's already, she's pleading not guilty. That's going to all come forward in court. Trish McLaughlin saying they get the tape, they got the body slamming. And what does that come with? Oh, it seems it's 17 years in the slammer, right? Alina Habba wants 17 years for LaMonica's behavior. I don't think she'll get 17 years, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she gets 6 months or a year. I really wouldn't. And I know that sounds like nothing, guys, but I really would not be surprised because they're going to make an example out of her. Heck, they made an example out of Martha Stewart, for goodness sakes. You don't think you can make an example out of LaMonica, who thinks she's so darn special that she doesn't have to obey the law? Like Brandon in Chicago is so darn special, he doesn't have to obey the law. Karen Bass doesn't think she has to obey the law. A lot of you guys were commenting on Karen Bass. Somebody sent me something that was really interesting. One of the viewers was pointing out that she promised to clean things up. All around MacArthur Park, there was a Jewish deli somebody mentioned that was closing down because it couldn't be in business because it had become so incredibly dangerous there. And so the irony they're saying of this whole situation is it's not actually Karen Bass that did anything to clean up the city of Los Angeles. It seems that it may be Donald Trump when it's all said and done that's maybe scaring people away. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the horses, the garb and everything, it's kind of scary looking, right? But maybe that actually has some value in and of itself because people are saying if they're here illegally and they've committed a crime and they are a bad person, maybe I don't want to be running around here right about now. That would make sense to me. Of course, it's not going to make sense to anybody over on CNN. They're having a meltdown over it all.
We don't know if they were looking for someone. We don't know if they arrested anybody. But clearly, whoever they were looking for, there was no one there but kids.
Well, I think this is the challenge I have with even talking about this. We are normalizing a government agency disappearing people. We are normalizing, we're talking about it like it's no big deal that they are kidnapping people and transporting them to concentration camps, both domestic and foreign. I think
that's kind of insulting to,
I think it's
Jewish
insulting what they're
Holocaust
doing. It is not insulting to Jewish Holocaust. I find find it insulting that you could even fix your mouth to defend this
Are there
disgusting
gas
behavior?
ovens at these?
It's not a death camp.
It doesn't matter. It's a concentration camp what they're doing, and they are disappearing people, claiming that these are people who have committed the most harsh crimes. But according to the reporting, less than 10% of these people have committed harsh crimes. So to do the victim Olympics and decide who had it worse, I can tell you, I can participate in that too. And everybody who says, "Oh, this is not the America I know," I can guarantee you it is the America I know. Can I finish my point, please?
Yes.
We are the fact that we're presenting this like it's political fodder, that a government agency is disappearing people. It is not a political point. It has nothing to do with Jewish people, because despite the fact that 20% of immigrants in this country are white, we do not see white people getting carted off to concentration camps. So if we can just focus on the people who are harmed the most by this, and not make yourself or somebody else the center of attention, when that's not who's getting impacted by this.
Jewish, but I'm saying,
or anyone else the center of attention.
Tensions are so heightened. You think
Okay, and this woman's just nuts, but she's not the only one. I mean, we played Joy Reid. You've seen other clips like this in the media. They're all trying to say that this is effectively like a concentration camp. If you get carted off to Florida into alligator Alcatraz. There's a lot of alligators there. Sorry, Alligator Alley, Alligator Alcatraz. That somehow this is the equivalent of a concentration camp where millions of people were killed in gas chambers. I'm sorry, but that's just too much of a stretch. Okay, that hysteria that leads to this Trump TDS syndrome. And frankly, after a while, all that hysteria, it's like the little boy who cried wolf, because they keep getting proven wrong over and over and over and over again. In fact, Brennan is the latest, right, to have been proven wrong with his Russia thing. I mean, for goodness sakes, they were trying to say that this was not a legitimate president. I remember that was a direct quote, actually, from none other than Jimmy Carter. And then Hillary Clinton picked it up, and everybody else as well. Not my president, not a legitimate president. He was, bought and paid for by the Russians. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. And yet that's what they went with. And it's all coming out right now. John Brennan under investigation. That story coming up next. But first, a reminder that we are fully independent here on the Trish Regan Show. We are growing strong. Thanks to all of your support. So thank you for everything you do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I think it's over there. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Leave a comment. Like. Don Beck is going to get after if you don't like this, because, oh gosh, Don, we're not doing well. We're at 319 likes. What's going on? We're going to get a higher number. Come on, guys. Do your part. Anyway, it's great to have you guys here. We love our sponsors here on the show, including Balance in Nature, because we're really into being healthy. We want you to be healthy, and you get 35% off when you do. One of the things that's come up with all this Maha stuff is ingredients. And you have to pay attention to that stuff. It's important to pay attention to that stuff. I never paid as much attention to that until recently. Full disclosure, like I should have. I would notice occasionally if I was overseas, I'm like, gee, I can eat a whole plate of pasta over here, and I don't feel like you got to roll me out of the restaurant after, right? Here, it's a whole different story. Well, why is that? Well, it's a few different things, including that it's often fresh pasta, and they don't have all the folic acid dumped onto the wheat that they do here, and all the other preservatives that they put in. So it's a very different kind of food processing. And they also don't have to ship it everywhere. You think about a small continent like Europe, where I think, Don, you still live right now. But you also think about like Italy, where you're sending things much more sort of in a contained environment. America's a big place, right? So you got Wonder Bread, and you're going to ship it from wherever it's manufactured. Let's pretend it's manufactured in Massachusetts all the way to California. It's got to keep for a month on the shelf life. Well, you got to have a lot of chemicals involved in order to do that. So there's a lot of junk in our food, and this is what's great about what Kennedy's doing. We'll see if he's able to kind of get it through. He wants to get rid of red dye. M&Ms, what are you thinking? They won't do this. I think we need to boycott M&Ms. Being boycotted in my house, thank you very much. And Fruit Loops. I just threw Fruit Loops out the other day. My son loves them, but I'm like, nope, we're not going to have that red dye. Ferraro just bought the company, which is an Italian company, and I suspect Ferraro will align themselves with this Maha agenda and get rid of the food dye. So that'll be a win for Kennedy. But I digress. The point is, Balance in Nature doesn't have that stuff. They're really good ingredients. So if you want to take your vitamins and you want to be healthy, they have a ton of different things you can take on their site. Go check them out at balanceinnature.com. You can use my name. It helps the show. It helps you get that 35% off. And you get free shipping and money back guarantee. All right, moving on, because James Comey is in a whole lot of trouble. and John Brennan is in a whole lot of trouble. These dudes are getting kind of frightened, and, understandably so. I'd be a little stressed out, wouldn't you? Under the circumstances, you got the FBI launching criminal investigations into none other than John Brennan, the former head of the CIA under one Barack Obama, along with James Comey, former head of the FBI. They both seem to have been involved in some rather sketchy stuff. We know the Russia thing. I have reported this ad nauseum. I don't know how much you know. I would encourage you, I don't know if you're new to the show and maybe you're just getting up to speed on this stuff, but quick synopsis, they basically took some opposition research from the Hillary Clinton campaign that was bought and paid for by the Hillary Clinton law firm that subcontracted it out to a company called Fusion GPS that subcontracted it out to a guy named Christopher Steele, who also subcontracted it out to a guy who was on the FBI payroll at one point that yet we suspected of being a Russian spy. So go figure. A lot of subcontractors to try and sort of muddy the waters and not have a really easy paper trail to be able to find all this stuff. But it turns out it was opposition research bought and paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. And they took this and they used it like gospel in order to undermine the Trump administration in the first go-around. Well, he's back. And he's back with a vengeance, as they say. And some people are getting really scared, including the former head of the CIA, John Brennan. I mean, if you ask me, this is like petrified talk. I want to play you this new clip.
I keep thinking, okay, this is the authoritarian playbook. We've seen this play out so many times. And unfortunately, I think we're seeing it play out. And a number of academics and writers have pointed out, and Carl Schmitt, who was a German jurist, political philosopher and writer in the 1930s, his thesis, which Nazi Germany basically took up, was don't worry about doing something that is ethical or principled or good or right. Do whatever you can to win, vanquish your adversaries, vanquish your enemies. And unfortunately, we have seen that happening overseas. We've seen it in Viktor Orban in Hungary. We've seen it with Vladimir Putin. We see it in China, other places. We see it also in terms of, some of the foreign policies that are being implemented, including, in the Middle East right now. So I really am very worried that what we're seeing now in this chapter of American history is a sad deterioration of, I think, the respect for the rule of law and for our system of government. And if a president of the United States is willing to weaponize intelligence and justice and, law enforcement investigators, and the people who head up these departments and agencies are willing to bow to it, we really are in deep, deep trouble, which was why I think so many people are worried about the direction this country is taking.
Like you, you're really worried because you're actually in deep, deep trouble. I don't think the country's in trouble. I mean, okay, let's just start keeping score, shall we? I'm going to go back to Russia. Fake. All right? So, numero uno. Oh, and then you had, I don't know, the Hunter Biden laptop? The Hunter Biden laptop that was supposed to be bought and paid for by the Russians, fed to you courtesy of Rudy Giuliani and company. Oh, nope, turns out that was a whole big concoction as well, and Brennan was involved in that one, putting together the list of the 51 ex-spooks. Mike Morrell as well, deputy director of the FBI. Oh, and it turns out our former Secretary of State, who was then Biden's sidekick, hoping he would get elected president, he's the one that had the idea. And he conspired, Tony Blinken, with Director Morrell, along with Brennan, to put this list of 51 ex-spooks and hacks together to mislead you and to shut down the Twitter account, the Facebook, anybody's account that would dare to challenge them. Oh, we haven't even gotten into March 2020. I lived and breathed that one myself, guys. Yeah. Like they had a version of the truth that they wanted to promote. And how dare you if you say anything else? And so now, when the chickens come home to roost and people are saying, okay, well, maybe this is actually criminal what they did. I mean, it was, in my estimation. If these allegations turn out to be true, boom, they need to pay the price. I'm sorry, this is disgusting, despicable. At the time I knew it, and it's been like one thing after another. Oh, no. That virus could not have possibly come from the Wuhan lab, despite the fact that they were researching it with our money, nonetheless. Murky transactions there too, because you're really going to follow the money through many, many layers. They didn't want you to know that as well. Turns out, despite the CIA being the last holdout, every other three-letter agency came out and admitted, yep, it came from Wuhan. They didn't want you to think that either. I mean, it's actually really sort of remarkable what went down, but yet not, because when you think about it, I want to take you back in time to 2017 when Brennan was being asked about some of this stuff, and he said, and I quote, you're going to hear it, "I don't do evidence. I do intelligence." Oh, yeah. You see, intel is all spin. What you think about someone, what your feelings are. It's not actually rooted in anything true, anything real. Here's Mr. Brennan in his own words.
And they try to get individuals, including U.S. persons, to act on their behalf either wittingly or unwittingly. And I was worried by a number of the contacts that the Russians had with U.S. persons. And so therefore, by the time I left office on January 20th, I had unresolved questions in my mind as to whether or not the Russians had been successful in getting U.S. persons involved in the campaign or not to work on their behalf, again, either in a witting or unwitting fashion. And so, therefore, I felt as though the FBI investigation was certainly well-founded and needed to look into those issues.
Did evidence exist of collusion, coordination, conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russian state actors at the time you learned of 2016 efforts?
I encountered and am aware of information and intelligence that revealed contacts and interactions between Russian officials and U.S. persons involved in the Trump campaign that I was concerned about because of known Russian efforts to suborn such individuals. And it raised questions in my mind, again, whether or not the Russians were able to gain the cooperation of those individuals. I don't know whether or not such collusion, that's your term, such collusion existed. I don't know.
You don't know. He knew he had a good story and he was sticking to it. He knew that this was a way to take Donald Trump down. Just like, yeah, he knew. Okay, I'm going to level with you about something. Actually, if you guys watch the show, you may have heard me tell this story before. Don Baca, I wonder if you have. Back in February 2020, I have a lot of sources, and I still have a lot of sources within the so-called deep state. I had heard as far back as February 2020 that the virus originated in Wuhan, China, and I heard this on very good intel. And so this was out there. Believe me, this was out there, okay? So if the nation didn't get shut down really until March 2020, I'm hearing in early February what's going on in the ground and that there had been some scientists that had gotten sick, all right? So this was out there. And nobody was allowed to talk about it. I mean, the deep state was like, I don't know what they were freaked out about. Clearly, I think they were freaked out because there was some knowledge that there had been somewhere, it wasn't a large amount of money, but somewhere around $600,000 that had gone to gain-of-function research, et cetera. And so I think that people were sensitive to that. I remember Trump being asked about it by a Fox reporter who had probably heard some of the same intel I had as late as May of 2020. And Trump's actually, he doesn't lie. Like, I like this about him a lot. He and I once had another source I would talk to quite a bit named Carl Icahn, if you guys know Carl. And Carl's a terrific, another guy from Queens. I like Carl a lot. I mean, he's a hard ass, as they say. But you know what? Carl never lied to me. I've had a lot of hedge fund guys. They'll lie to you because they'll try and like send you on a different trail as a reporter, and so you always kind of have to be, you know. And there are a few people I kind of actually put. It's funny enough, Donald Trump and Carl Icahn in the same bucket. Like neither would lie. Like maybe they would like pivot, but they would never flat out lie. And so often, what gets Donald Trump in trouble, so to speak, it's what I find incredibly endearing and transparent about him. But what gets him in trouble with the establishment is that a reporter asks a question and he tells him the truth. Oh, imagine that, somebody telling the truth. And so the Fox reporter asked back in May 2020, hey, have you seen any intel that this might have come from the Wuhan lab? And he's like, yeah, I've seen that intel. I'll have to pull that clip at some point because he's like, yeah, I've seen that intel. And there is intelligence that suggests that we're looking into all things. And oh my goodness, I mean, Dr. Fauci was practically having a heart attack. Right? They couldn't believe it. And the next day, Nature Journal or whatever it was said something drastic, and they had some hit piece on him. And the New York Times went in on it, and everybody was like, pounce, all at once. And like, he was done. I mean, hey, I know that feeling, right? That was no-go territory. Somehow, I don't have a problem with the no-go territories. Neither does he. And I think in this new media world where we are much more transparent and there's less of the corporation breathing down your back, we're afforded this opportunity to go and be transparent. Thank you, guys, for all of that. And thank you to the voters in America, because Donald Trump was able to go direct to the people. And it's a very different kind of thing. But Brennan didn't like that. And Comey didn't like that. And now they really don't like that there's this criminal investigation. Comey's like, oh, well, it was going to happen. It was going to happen. Remember, him on MSNBC? While Biden was still running. This was right before Kamala came in. They got desperate and did the Kamala thing. Poor Joe, but we got to get to Joe's doctor, because gosh darn almighty, Joe's doctor won't even give you any information whatsoever. That's coming up. But first, remember what Comey said?
When you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election...
Now it just worries you. Okay, just worries you, Comey. And now you're in for it. So criminal investigation is underway. We'll see what comes up with those guys. I want to get to Joe Biden's doctor, because you should see this. It's kind of important. But before we do, what do I have to do? I have to change my lower third again. By the way, thanks guys for catching the Roman numerals yesterday. That was a dyslexic moment on my part. I'm actually not dyslexic, and sorry to anybody who is, but I don't know how I got my X's and B's all mixed up in the Roman numerals. We were talking about Title IX. Anyway, Bitcoin hitting $113,000 a coin. It's like crazy. You saw NVIDIA going above $4 trillion. I mean, it's just amazing in market cap value. I'm telling you, this is what you call winning. And I'm just checking the market numbers as we get ready here to close out the day on Wall Street. Yet again, I'm just blown away. There is so much optimism about crypto. Elizabeth Warren is flipping out. Oh my goodness. I saw a clip of her on Capitol Hill today, just losing it, right? Because she doesn't want anybody having any crypto. She doesn't want any workaround. She wants as much control as she can possibly have. She thinks the Fed's going to give her that. Look at this. Dow Jones Industrial Average up again, another 0.5%. S&P up 0.3%. NASDAQ up just nearly 0.2%. All as Bitcoin hits yet another 52-week high. This is just amazing. I know some of you don't like Bitcoin, okay? I do. I told you to buy it when it was like 50 something. Actually, I was telling people to buy it when it was 12. I wish I had bought it when it was 12. I didn't tell people to buy it. I actually did a whole ton of stories because I was like, this is the most incredible, most amazing, interesting thing. And I was right. So my husband said, in the future, can you just really act on those things? And I said, okay, honey, done. So I act now. I try and really act. And I have acted on Bitcoin. So full disclosure, I have an interest in it. I want to see it go higher. And I also like gold, as you well know. But, this was interesting to me. Do you remember the Winklevoss twins? They had a part in the Social Network movie. They were like the original creators of Facebook, and they were great rowers. And I know this because I come from a rowing family, and they have a company called Gemini, get it, twins. And they have Bitcoin wallets and crypto wallets. Well, they also just introduced a credit card that costs $0 a year to have and gives you rewards back in Bitcoin. Okay, hear me out for a second. You get actually $200 too after you spend a certain amount. I think it's $3,000 on the card within the first 90 days. So you can get $200 in Bitcoin. And I think this is worth it only because it costs $0. Now, pay your credit card on time. Don't ever not. I'm sort of OCD about it. I see something, boom, I pay it before it's even due because I never want to pay that rate. That's when you get into trouble. But if you get the credit card and then you get the crypto, and all your rewards are in crypto, it's sort of like why not? Like maybe you're nervous about crypto and you're like, I don't know how to invest in this. I don't think I really want to put any money into it. Well, why not just get the rewards? That's sort of my thinking on this. This is what I told my parents. This is what I told, my aunt and uncle who are older and all that good stuff, right? You guys need this. You need exposure to it. So maybe do it in kind of a simple way. And so this is a $0 card. Like most cards, they charge you a couple $100. In the case of Amex, I think it just went up to $6.95. Anyway, you get points on those cards. This one, you get Bitcoin. So go check it out and go to Gemini.com. Gemini, remember twins, the Winklevoss twins, the rowers, /Trish. So you can get that offer. I'm actually going to put it in the notes. So if you guys are watching live, check it out. I mean, it's worth doing. Gemini, I have to make sure I can spell and talk and type all at the same time. That's talent. Right? So we welcome them aboard. They're a new sponsor here on the Trish Regan Show, which is great because our interests are very much obviously aligned. Again, I'm a big crypto supporter. And you don't just have to get Bitcoin. You can get like any crypto. They have a zillion different cryptos there that you can get. Go check it out. Also, you need you to check out my own company, 76 Research, where we told you to buy this stuff. And by the way, we told you to buy a whole bunch of other stuff and you would have done great if you had done it. So I hope you did. I'm giving it to you guys for $1 a month. Okay, $1 a month. Like I'm making you pay $1 just because you have to pay something, okay? But I was like, we need this as cheap as we can do it. I said to my colleague Rob, and it's cheap. So it's $1 a month, first 2 months, then it goes to $9.95. You can also buy the portfolios if you're interested in that. Take a look at some of these. I mean, just amazing numbers. Tech pick up 57%, energy up 53%, we have materials pick up 73%, energy up 55%. It goes on and on and on. So lots of good stuff there. Just make sure you go to 76research.com and use my code word $. All right. Secret Service, 6 of them are out. What do you think of this one, guys? 6 put on leave. No pay. This is because of Butler, Pennsylvania. And you know what? It probably needed to happen. Because even if we just assume the best and they love the president and they're trying to do their job, they clearly sucked at their job because there were so many things that went wrong. And I knew as soon as my buddy Bongino got in there, he was going to, there was going to be hell to pay. I'm even surprised it took this long. But 6 people are out. And here's a little synopsis of the story, courtesy of our friend Jesse Waters.
We're learning tonight 6 Secret Service agents that were connected to Trump's Butler assassination attempt have been suspended. This comes just days shy of the shooting's anniversary. The identities of the agents suspended are unknown, but sources say their roles range from supervisory positions to line-level agents. We'll continue to monitor this story and bring you any updates as they come. There was a
Yeah, so we're still trying to get some more information here, but like I said, I kind of feel like these people deserved it because, that's an important job, and in my estimation, they really didn't do their job because he nearly died, and it was a horrible, and we're coming up on like the 1-year anniversary of it. Susie Wiles, who's his chief of staff, she ran his campaign. By the way, first female chief of staff. What do you know? You think he gets any credit for that? No. Not that he's asking credit for that. Not that she's asking credit, because you know what? In a real meritocracy, guys, it doesn't matter. Did you hear that, Mayor Brandon Johnson? Doesn't matter. Got it? All right, so Susie saying, really, this was God at work. She sat down with Miranda Devine from the New York Post. I want to show you a clip.
We're coming up to a year since the Butler attempted assassination. I mean, I guess you don't really like to think about it too much, but it was so close that he could have died and history would have been changed just a millimeter. Do you ever look back at that and think that it was divine intervention?
100%. And I think in a candid moment, he would say so. The way the rally itself unfolded, the chart he had them put up on the screens, on the big LED boards, it was always the last chart in the rotation. And it was always on the other side. So to have him ask for that chart 8 minutes in and to have it come on the side that is opposite caused him, well, it's this way, caused him look in a different direction and lift his head just a little because it was higher. And that just doesn't happen because it happened.
Yes.
It happened because I believe God wanted him to live.
I believe so too. I really do. I mean, it's just a miracle. It's absolutely, positively a miracle. And you know what? He is the hardest working man in showbiz. Susie said that too.
He never stops working. Yeah. And so when you combine a work ethic that's unparalleled with a wish list that's very long and an appetite for success for the American people, this is what you get.
Yeah, hit the ground running. And but I guess we see that Donald Trump works in Trump speed, warp speed. But that also means that the people who work for him do the same. Do you ever find it hard keeping up?
I don't know of another mortal who could really keep up.
Right.
I work as hard as I can, and I think I do fine, or at least if I don't, he hasn't told me that yet. But it is superhuman pace. There's no question. And if you look around at the staff, they're all young but me. So there's a reason for that.
I think she's keeping up just fine. You know, she's credited with really helping to manage the place. And you know what? When you got a big personality like Donald Trump who wants a lot done, you got to also have somebody who helps to keep the wheels on the bus, right? And Susie's done an amazing job at that. She runs a tight ship. So, you know, a lot of congrats to her for all the great stuff that has come out. And again, I look at the market because I'm a simple girl, right? Simple girl from New Hampshire, as I like to say. And when I see this kind of optimism in the stock market, it makes me really happy, really excited. But it's not just the market, okay? It's the real economy too. So inflation is coming down. Jobs are being added. Wow. I mean, and guess what? Like, things are getting safer. Karen Bass is talking about how safety's improving in LA. Well, why do you think that is, Karen? Like, come on. All right. We didn't say she was the brightest bulb. Speaking of a great economy, speaking of all, you know what? One of the reasons we have a great economy is because we're getting those tax cuts. Thank you very much. The tax cuts. Thanks to the one big, beautiful bill. Tremendous stuff. You know, Protect Prosperity is all over this, the folks over at AFP, and I would encourage you to go and take a look at their website and to pay attention to what they're doing, and maybe even sign up on some grassroots level if you care about your community and your state and you want to make sure that the economy in these places is protected. These guys are all over it, and they just have a wonderful program. So we love our partnership and affiliation with AFP, which is protectprosperity.com, because you can get involved in that. And so I just wanted to give them a great shout out. But, you know, Susie's done an amazing job. The entire team has done an amazing job. I know everybody's frustrated with Pam. I share it. I get it. Okay. And we can save that, I guess, for another day, because I still need to tell you about what the heck is going on here with Biden's doctor, who refuses to testify. I mean, taking the fifth, did you see it? I'm going to show you. We got the tape. Here we go.
Were you ever told to lie about the president's health?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer.
Did you ever believe the president was unfit to execute his duties as president?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer.
Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based upon the physician's patient privilege and in reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Wow. So he's afraid he's going to incriminate himself? Because, hey, maybe he actually should have given the President of the United States that test that every other man gets. I mean, I realize he was older than most men and you think you're out of the window, but how is it that his cancer is so elevated right now? I'm sorry, like, you're the President of the United States. You should get the best possible care. And if you didn't give him the test, okay, you just are a lousy doctor. And if you did give him the test and you didn't tell anyone, ooh, we got a little bit of a problem, don't we? Because as Ted Cruz pointed out, somebody else seemed to be doing most of the work. There was that little autopen at work.
Mr. Wold, you're a lawyer who served in the White House counsel's office. You understand the gravity of presidential action. Does the president's signature carry legal and constitutional weight under Article 2?
Yes.
Is the act of signing an executive order or signing a law or granting a pardon a delegable duty of the president?
So in that opinion in 2005 from OLC, they said essentially that an autopen could be used by a subordinate, but the president's determination as to sign the document can never be delegated.
Can that authority be transferred to a staffer or a machine without the president's explicit authorization?
Never.
And if you look at the statistics are stunning. In 2021, President Biden issued 78 executive orders. None were signed with an autopen. That first year of the presidency, Biden, I suppose, was relatively lucid, and 78
We'll see you
executive
soon.
orders
Thank
he
you.
signed by hand. The second year, however, we see the autopen emerge. The first autopenned executive order was issued on July 15th, 2022. After that day, 100% of the executive orders issued in 2022 were signed by an autopen. In 2023, Biden issued 24 executive orders. 16 were autopenned. In 2024, Biden issued 19. 14 were autopenned. In 2025, Biden issued 14 executive orders. Every single one was autopenned.
That's a little strange. I mean, you know, sometimes people get fatigued on the job and they kind of check out in the final months, you know, like, you know, you're leaving to go somewhere else. I was a correspondent at CBS News and I knew I was leaving to go be an anchor on CNBC, and they asked me if I wanted to go to Iraq for Christmas. True story. My father was like, I'm sorry, I fought in Vietnam so my daughter wouldn't have to go to Iraq. And my husband's like, that'll be the day. So let's just say I declined the opportunity to go to Iraq and report from Iraq. You know, again, I was in my last final weeks. I knew I was leaving, right? You know, maybe Biden was just checked out, or maybe it was something more. Maybe it was that he was really struggling, like we see here. I'll never forget this.
I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
What's your message for Super Tuesday voters? Super Tuesday said, do you have a message for voters?
I mean, that was bad. He was out of it. And then we knew he was out of it when we all saw it on the debate stage. And yet Dr. Jill, who must have been in cahoots with the real doctor, said this. Oh, you were great, honey. You know, you went the potty and everything.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied!
Oh my gosh, these people are sort of shameless, are they not? Anyway, this thing is going to heat up, mark my words, and Donald Trump is going to make sure of it.
Biden, look, it's a very sad thing what happened, but we're going to start looking into this whole thing with who signed this legislation. Who signed legislation opening our border? I don't think he knew. I said there's nobody that would want an open border. Nobody. And now I find out that it wasn't him. He auto-penned it. Who was operating the auto-pen? This is a very serious thing. We had a president that didn't sign anything. He auto-penned almost everything. He opened the borders of the United States of America. And I kept saying, who would do such a thing? Allowing criminals to pour in from all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They came in from Africa, they came in from Asia, they came from the Congo. The prisons in the Congo in Africa, these are rough people. The prisons from the Congo are empty. You know where they are? They're in this country. Who would sign this? Nobody would sign it. No sane person would sign it. You know who signed it? Radical left lunatics that were running our country, and the autopen signed it. And they didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything. We're going to use the autopen. And they used the autopen and everything.
I'm laughing, but you know what? It's actually really serious. And we need to figure out what the HELL went down, okay? Like, we have to. And there are going to be more and more hearings. And at some point, Dr. Jill's chief of staff is going to have to get his you-know-what in there, even though he's refusing. Well, guess what happens? When you refuse, you get subpoenaed. And when you get subpoenaed and you still refuse, oh, well, Steve Bannon can give you the answer to that one. You go to jail. There may be people going to jail after all. What do you think of that one, guys? Hey, don't forget to subscribe, share, like. Make sure you like. Leslie, good to see you in here. Crockett, I'm glad you mentioned her. I'm glad you mentioned Representative Jasmine Crockett, who had a thing or two to say. Oh, yeah. She says she'll take a really dumb Biden any day over Trump.
Do you want to respond to President Biden being diagnosed with cancer?
No, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. I got it.
Do you have concerns about the president's health and his mental acuity at all? None whatsoever.
I had none. Now, granted, I didn't see Joe Biden every single day, but I did have an opportunity to interact with the president. I never had a concern. If there's anyone that I am concerned about their mental acuity, it is the current occupant.
Actually, I'm a little concerned about you, Jasmine. Very concerned about you. Very concerned about the health of the Democrat Party at this point because TDS has become quite deadly, I think. TDS 2.0 as it's known. Hey, guys, make sure you subscribe, share, like. Yeah, I know, guys, it didn't look like Jasmine. She's got a new hairdo. It's a nice hairdo. But it's like completely different than 2 days ago. I get it. Different, hair piece of some sort. Anyway, we digress. It is great to have you here. I love it. And make sure you do your part. Spread the word. We are live every single solitary day. Well, most days, 5 to 6 a week. I love all that you've been able to do to help this channel succeed. We're coming up on 1 million, baby. How about that? All right, I'll see you here live again tomorrow.